Welcome to Smart with Screens. I'm Schnelle Acevedo. For 14 years, I built digital marketing campaigns for major brands such as Disney, Netflix, Amazon, and Procter& Gamble. My job was to get you to click, to scroll, and to engage. Now I teach families and schools across New York City how these systems actually work. The algorithms, the psychology, the tricks, so you can make informed decisions about technology. This is Smart with Screens. Let's get into it. No laptops, no slides, no worksheets. Just a Thursday during spring break, a Girl Scout Brownie troop, and about 4 miles of Brooklyn. The Transit Museum, the Promenade, and even the Brooklyn Bridge itself. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, the most honest conversation about digital literacy I've had all year. And it didn't come from me. It came from the girls. I just had to get out the way. Today, I want to talk about what happened on that walk and what it confirmed for me about something I've believed for a long time. Schools cannot do this work alone. Digital literacy education takes the whole village, and the village has to actually show up. Here's something that I've learned after years of teaching digital literacy in schools across New York City. You cannot have a real conversation about a child's relationship with technology while they are holding their technology. The device becomes a shield, a distraction, or even a performance. And the moment it disappears, the performance disappears with it. On this walk, no one was on a device. Not because I took anything away, not because I made a rule. They were actually just too busy looking at things like flowers and trees and all of the wonderful things that spring produces. The world was doing the work. And that created three conditions that I rarely get to engineer in a classroom. The first one, the devices were down. There was no iPad, no Chromebook, no phone. That meant that the attention was up. The eyes were up. Curiosity was up. Two, the guards were down. There is something about moving side by side, not sitting across from an adult who is evaluating you, that loosens kids up in ways a classroom rarely allows. These girls talked freely. They followed their own curiosity instead of a prompt. And three, the peer dynamic was working for me and not against me. In a classroom, I'm often navigating social anxiety, performance pressure, the invisible hierarchies that make kids careful about what they say out loud. On the walk, the group became one resource. One girl's honesty gave the next girl permission to be honest too. What came out of it wasn't a lesson in any traditional sense. It was a window into how these girls actually think about their digital lives. And what I saw gave me a lot of hope. Somewhere between the promenade and the bridge, we started talking about where they spend their time online. One girl told me plainly, with genuine pride, that she only talks to her friends and her fellow troop members on Roblox. She wasn't confessing, she wasn't apologizing, she was explaining her system. The boundaries she had already built in her own mind around who gets access to her online world. And she wanted me to know she had thought about it. I was so proud of her because that is exactly the kind of conscious, intentional digital behavior I spend my career trying to cultivate. It doesn't always come from a formal lesson. Sometimes it comes from a child who has absorbed the right messages from the adults around her and quietly built her own framework. Then another girl looked at me and asked me why I don't allow my own daughter on Roblox. That is a fair question. That is a good question. And the fact that she felt safe enough to ask, it told me about what these girls are capable of more than any assessment ever could. We talked about it honestly. Platform design, age appropriateness, the difference between supervised and unsupervised access, the reality that two reasonable adults can look at the same platform and land in different places. Nobody left with a verdict. They left with more to think about, which is the whole point. That is digital literacy education in its most alive form. Not a worksheet, not a cautionary video. A real reciprocal exchange between young people who are already thinking critically and an adult who takes their thinking seriously enough to engage with it honestly. I want to stay on the Brooklyn Bridge for a second because I don't think the metaphor is accidental. Infrastructure does not happen by itself. Someone decided that connection between two places mattered enough to build something long lasting, something designed to hold the weight over time and through stress. If you've ever looked closely at the cables of the Brooklyn Bridge, you know that the tension holding everything together is not hidden. It isn't smoothed over, it's rough and tough. It's visible by design because the bridge works because of that tension, not in spite of it. Digital literacy education works the same way. It is not a one time assembly. It is not a single classroom visit or a module tucked into a media studies elective. It has to be built deliberately, maintained consistently, and supported from multiple points at once. And I'm talking schools, families, community organizations, the coaches, and the troop leaders, and the aunties, the neighbors, all of whom show up in the hours that fall outside of the school day. Walking across that bridge with my brownie troop, I kept thinking, this is what the village doing its job looks like. People say kids are sponges, and they are. But I want to be more precise about what that actually means. They are not just absorbing what we teach them explicitly, they are absorbing what we model, what we allow, what we choose not to address. The girl who had built her own boundaries around Roblox, she didn't learn that in a classroom. She learned it somewhere, from someone, through the accumulated experience of being around adults who took this seriously enough to talk about it out loud. That is a real argument for digital literacy as a life skill. Not because kids face real risks online, though they do, because conscious, intentional engagement with technology is a capacity. It has to be built through practice, developed through repetition, through trusted relationships, and through the exact kind of conversation that opens up when you take a group of girls for a walk and ask them what they actually think. So here's what I want to leave you with today. Whether you are a teacher, a parent, a troop leader, a coach, or someone who just cares about the kids in your life, schools cannot do this alone. And I say that as someone who works in schools, believes in schools, and has seen what becomes possible when a principal decides that digital literacy is a real priority and actually carves out space for it. But the work does not end at dismissal. It can't. The most important digital literacy conversation I facilitated this year did not happen in a classroom. It happened on a bridge at eye level between girls who trusted each other and an adult who asked real questions and expected real answers. This is replicable, it is scalable, and it starts with deciding that this work is worth doing everywhere, not just during school hours. Thanks for listening to Smart with Screens. If this episode resonated with you, share it with another parent, educator, troop leader, or anyone that's trying to help kids navigate the digital world more intentionally. You can read the full blog post that this episode is based on at bamdigitalmedia.info. And if you want to bring a digital literacy program to your school or community organization, please reach out. I'd love to make it happen. I'm Schnelle Acevedo, and until next time, let's stay smart with screens.